Reading book on pausing and institutions. Written by me, Eric Wadell. First draft, February 2026. Pausing strengthens one's own personal institution. The primary thing that happens when we pause is that we strengthen our person. A pausing person is a strong person. A strong person makes the breathing space that is necessary to make personal choices. Personal choices make for honest relationships to institutions. Honest relationships to institutions make for more honest institutions. Like that, pausing makes more honest institutions. And honest institutions not only do what they do, but also know what they do. So when we develop our practice of pausing, we strengthen our personal institution. This is the first effect of pausing and institutions, and we can do a lot with a strong personal institution. We may build foundations and make connections. We may accept limitations more readily, but also see options better. With a strong personal institution, we may see that in some situations we prefer trusting in our bodies, and in other situations we instead prefer a more intellectual approach. There are no rules to a personal institution because by definition a personal institution is personal, and something that is personal is also unique. That there is only one of it. Anything rule-bound would, in contrast, by definition be common to multiple persons. Your personal institution is unique to your specific predisposition and design. We pause and design our personal institution in accordance to our predisposition, one pause at a time. We may pause and choose to be more emotional here, but more intellectual there. We may pause and slow things down here, but speed them up there. We may pause and go alone here, but go together there. We may pause and take an active stance here, but follow other people there. Like this, pausing strengthens our personal institution, one pause at a time. With continued practice, our personal institution allows us to see all our additional institutions in a more distinct light. shapes and patterns emerge, and we get new ideas about what to do. We change our opinion about some institutions and are affirmed in our opinions about some other institutions. We pause like this in a casual manner whenever we come across something that is interesting or puzzling. What used to be murky slowly becomes more clear. With a strengthened personal institution, we build an institution's compass. Our personal institution can be categorized as our third order of institutions, like we found in Chapter 2. From this strengthened personal position, we may enter into more interesting dynamics with additional institutions. In Chapter 9, we talked about finding our favorite institution, and that finding such a favorite could help us organize the connections that we are having between all of our institutions. It would in effect be like mapping out how our institutions are placed in relation to each other. The point here is not to map out something perfected by any means, but rather to get some indicating illustration as to how our life might be organized. Since most of us are part of so many institutions, maybe more than 50, some mapping could help alleviate some of the emotional and cognitive burden that we carry with us about all of those institutions. We could make some kind of sketch for this. Okay, so what do we start with in the sketch? First, in the middle, we could place ourselves. From Universal Skill Body, we found that we carry half of our world inside of us, which we found in Chapter 3. So, placing ourselves in the middle would grant a good sense of balance to our institution's sketch. Second, right above ourselves, we could place our favorite institution. This could be an institution either of first, second, third, or fourth order. Some examples could be that our favorite is an international alliance, first order, or our family, second order. It could be our best friend, third order, or a conflict with our rivals, fourth order. More examples could be that our favorite is a global technological set of infrastructure, first order, or our workplace, second order. It could be a celebrity, third order, or an initiative of cooperation between our local community and national community, fourth order. Even more examples could be that our favorite is international law, first order, or a group sharing the same hobby, second order, or a mentor, third order, or a rational ideal, fourth order. Still more examples could be that our favorite is humanity, first order, or a religious congregation, second order. It could be our spouse, third order, or the practice of pausing, fourth order. Third, in our sketch, we might think then that we should place every other institution in our lives that we can think of. But that would probably overwhelm us, so we will refrain from doing that. What we could do, however, is to sketch down our 5 situations around ourselves and our favorite. So we sketch out sleep, acute, long-term, confused, and worn out, respectively. Now, with this, we have built ourselves a compass for institutions. As we then are going about our lives, interacting with one institution here and another institution there, we may pause for a second or two and acknowledge what kind of situation that we currently find ourselves in. In time, with every pause made, this will help us to organically position ourselves together with our favorite institution, in accordance with the 5 situations that will follow us all throughout life anyway. Like this, our personal positioning in relation to our institutions will move with the grain of life. Like this, we and our favorite will run our proper courses. We might liken this somewhat to some kind of trust in life, but also with us having done everything that we possibly can by pausing every now and then. Emotion and intellect and the future of institutions. In this book, we have developed some ability to pause with institutions, and we have also built ourselves a compass for navigating them. Throughout our reasoning, we have come back again and again to the dual nature of our decision-making as it comes to institutions. That we, on the one hand, are emotional bodies, and that we, on the other hand, are intellectual planners. Throughout this book, we have called this dual nature of ours our dual loyalty, wherein the one loyalty is pointing backwards to our ancient tribe mentality, and the other loyalty is pointing forwards to our future man-made inventions. Throughout this book, our practice has been to pause in the middle of these 2 loyalties, balanced between our ancient truth and future truth. Pausing and Institutions is now written in late 2025 and early 2026. And its context of creation is a Western world undergoing rapid technological as well as political change. in this year of 2025 and 2026, gigantic supercomputers are being built, processing vast amounts of what is called data on every person. Data is a sort of quantification or registration seeking to express every single person in terms understandable to many other persons. This so-called personal data is in 2026 arguably one of the strongest driving forces behind much of the institutional changes currently going on. Some institutions collect personal data, and other institutions assemble it. Some institutions analyze personal data, and other institutions buy and sell it. Some institutions fabricate fake personal data, and other institutions regulate and police it. And still, some institutions in 2026 do most of these activities all at the same time. So the institutional context in 2025 and 2026 is one of great confusion for Western persons. We try our best to keep up with the changes, but oftentimes feel like we are losing coherence. We do our best in trying to build structure for our confusion, but are interrupted by frequent challenges of authority. We want symmetry in our relationships with the institutions, but many times we feel that the predictability is lacking too much. For all of these challenges, we try our best to pause in between the emotions of our bodies and the plans making of our intellects. We remember the tribe mentality that we have always known and will never forget. We also innovate new solutions upon solutions to man-made inventions. How then will the future of institutions be? There are many skilled authors imagining future scenarios. In 2026, a book genre called science fiction is highly popular, trying to give its readers an edge in their future plans making. The ambition of pausing and institutions is not, however, to imagine the future in any spirit of science fiction like that, but rather to develop the ability to pause with future institutions, regardless of how they may or may not develop. One contemporary trend that we although can observe is that the intellectual aspect of institutions is innovating at dizzying speed, with technology gaining a near religious quality to it. Another contemporary trend that we then also can observe, almost like its sibling trend, is that many persons wish to create institutions increasingly in the spirit of our ancient tribes. There are many examples now of persons expressingly building their tribes or homesteading in accordance with old traditions. For my generation, what was deemed an old tradition 10 years ago was not as old as the traditions that we are now pointing back to in 2026. In the middle of these two trends, the new and the old, we pause for a second or two and acknowledge that the new is getting increasingly newer and that the old is getting increasingly older. The new is getting newer and the old is getting older. But for how long? What happens with all of our institutions as their contents and natures are stretched out like this? Many of them may possibly break, leaving many hearts broken. There will then be a lot of scattering, the opposite of coherence. There will be pieces laying here and pieces laying there. We pause and recognize that many of our institutions possibly may break in the coming years after 2026. And then there will be pieces laying on the ground for us to reassemble. We will probably wish to reassemble them into shapes that both remind us of our 40,000 years old tribes, but that also remind us of nothing, instead feeling new and fresh.